Welcome back, viewers. You are still tuned into Prime Live. Now, South Africans have witnessed the first real test of the Government of National Unity last week when President Cyril Ramaphosa signed into law the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill, or better known as the BELA Bill. Now, the public signing ceremony in Pretoria was snubbed by the DA Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Gwarube, in the clearest sign yet that the ANC-DA coalition is approaching possibly choppy waters. Now, what does this actually mean for the government led by Cyril Ramaphosa, who gave a 3-month pause for the clauses dealing with the admissions policy and language? We will definitely be finding out in our conversation this evening with political analyst from the Wits University School of Business, Sandile Swana, who joins us now to answer all these questions and perhaps help us make sense of all of this. Good evening, Sandile. Thank you so much for joining us once again on Prime Live.
Good evening, Nazia, and good evening to your listeners.
Thank you so much for once again joining us. I think a lot of our viewers this evening are looking forward to receiving some clarity as well as some understanding as to, all the drama that has been transpiring, for lack of a better word. Now, first of all, in terms of the law, is it legal to postpone clauses of a law that has already been signed by the president?
Yes, it is legal to do that, but the sequence in your question is not correct, because it suspends certain clauses before signing, so the remaining clauses then go into effect. These clauses are suspended, not terminated, they are suspended for 90 days.
Thank you for clarifying that information for us. Now, let's take a look at what AfriForum, the DA, and others are now saying. Would you say that their objections to the clauses dealing with the admissions policy and language are reasonable?
The objections are unreasonable relative to the nation as a whole. The BELA Bill, as it has been called, is now an act, has been in the making for 10 years. So anybody, including you and I, who wanted to object to any bill had plenty of opportunity to submit detailed objections to each clause of the 54 clauses, I seem to remember them, and over a 10-year period, and also over the last 2 years. And when you go to the Parliamentary Monitoring Group records, you see that this thing was discussed line by line over a number of occasions, and research reports that substantiated certain aspects of questions were also submitted. They could also have submitted objections to the National Assembly. They could also have subjected to the Council of Provinces. So there have been many opportunities, but eventually a decision must be made by Parliament, by a majority, and now they are trying to undermine.
It absolutely does appear that way. Now, the president has explained that the law is designed to level the playing field when it comes to access to quality basic education. How is it that 30 years after democracy, we still have these elite schools that the majority are barred from attending based on a language barrier or even race?
The ANC is now in this mess of their own making, even if they say they proposed this bill 11 years ago, depending who you listen to. In that 11 years, they could have proposed the bill and passed it under their own power without a dispute of a GNU or anything like that. They could have passed it 20 years before. So it has been the laziness and the carelessness of the African National Congress that we are now in the mess that we're in.
Now, that is a very interesting observation that you have placed there. Absolutely, they did have every opportunity to bring something like this to effect a long time ago, as these issues that the BELA Bill is aiming to address has been issues in the education or basic education system rather, that has been in existence for quite a long time. Now, regarding your assessment, right, how is your assessment of how President Cyril Ramaphosa has been able to handle the issue with his partners in the Government of National Unity? We know that it has now caused a lot of tension amongst the very new formed government of national unity, and this is, so to say, going to be their first test to see how they are going to be able to manage a dispute, or rather, the disagreements that are taking place regarding the bill?
I'm starting to think that even this bill is being used to achieve other political objectives. It's not about dispute resolution as such, that there's a problem with dispute resolution. If you look at what is going on, and it's hot, the DA and the ANC are in the process of, depending which angle you're looking at it, of removing the DA in the city of Swana. So these people are uniting and disuniting at the same time. So the DA could be attempting to apply pressure with other issues at other levels in order to try and gain benefits somewhere else, because the activities that they are involved in are outrightly supporting a white supremacist right-wing position in South Africa, promoting white supremacy openly with this position that they've taken. And therefore, it can only be some little game to please the right wing or to gain a political point somewhere else. And there is no rationality whatsoever behind what they are doing. So to negotiate with them, there's nothing intelligent that Cyril Ramaphosa can negotiate with the DA on the education bill itself.
We already know that there is a warning of against insubordination by Ramaphosa against the minister who does not implement the law. Will the GNU be able to survive the firing of a minister? Do you think that the tension will continue to build, or do you think that the GNU will actually be able to survive the possibility of maybe losing a minister?
This so-called GNU, at any rate, it's one and the same thing, different flavors of the same thing. Cyril Ramaphosa was put into power by white billionaires, by white monopoly capital. The DA is supported by white monopoly capital. Both of them are puppets of white monopoly capital. This so-called GNU government, on the 28th of May, just before the election, the BLSA issued, by the business leadership South Africa, 130 CEOs, issued a clear statement that a coalition that excludes MK and EFF must be formed, which means it's a grand coalition of the DA and the ANC that must be formed, not any other coalition. So these people, DA and ANC, including Ramaphosa personally, are welded into this thing with money. This is welded together by money. It cannot be separated. It is welded together and held together by money and by business. It's not, these people are not making free political decisions. They are being controlled by money.
Now, I'm going to move the conversation through to what we've been seeing a lot in terms of conversations that everyday South Africans have been having on social media in reaction to everything that has been going on at the moment. Now, this is regarding the GNU and their longevity. So, in your opinion, looking at the landscape, how much longer do you give the government national unity in terms of their longevity if we are already seeing tensions as it stands?
Yes, if this was a genuine government of national unity where people are independent actors, I would be worried, and I was worried in the early stages when I had not realized that actually the driver of this thing is not the politicians, it's actually big business. So this is a mere puppet show. What we are having here is a mere puppet show that is run by the same people. The cabinet is not the head office of government. Business is. So this thing will last for 5 years. There's no problem. Steenhuisen is not going to walk out of this thing. Helen Zille is not going to walk out of this thing. The ANC is not going to walk out of this.
Now, let's take a scenario-based situation. In the scenario that the two parties are completely unable to reach a compromise after the 3 months, do you think that South Africa will face a governance crisis?
I don't think that the ANC will actually agree with AfriForum, because the actual faces, the actual people who are pushing this is AfriForum and Solidarity. So it's the white right wing. This is a request from the white right wing. Now, if Cyril Ramaphosa accommodates the white right wing, all that will do is to promote the EFF and promote the MK party relative to the 2026 election. The DA, for its part, will gain more right-wing votes, but it will lose more of black votes. So this is going to cost somebody black votes, because this is a white supremacist, a racist, pro-apartheid position that is being imposed on the democratic government of South Africa.
Mr. Swana, thank you so much for joining us once again this evening, as well as sharing some insight, as well as your thoughts on the current standing of, yes, the relationship between the ANC and the DA regarding the BELA Bill, as well as the building tensions that do now exist within the government of national unity. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Viewers at home, that was Sandile Swana, who is from the Wits Business School, and he is a political analyst. Now, there has been a lot of conversation, whether you've seen it on the news, whether you've seen it on social media, regarding the BELA Bill and the growing tension that now exists between the ANC as well as the DA regarding the signing of the bill. Now, the DA have snubbed, the ceremony of the signing of the bill. And a lot of people are saying that this could very well be the very first test that the government of national unity will be put under. Now, the question very much is, will they be able to survive, or will we find ourselves in a situation where the tensions continue to grow and we might end up in a situation where we have a crisis in our government? Do let us know what are your thoughts on our social media platforms. Do interact with us on all our platforms. On that note, viewers, it is time for us to head over to an ad break, and we'll come right back.